Whether it's a long-awaited console exclusive or a wonderfully optimized third-party title, there's no shortage of excellent single-player titles on the Xbox Series X and S. A majority of the platform's exclusives feature generation-defining single-player campaigns, with Stalker 2, Hellblade 2, and Halo Infinite leading the charge. Microsoft's backwards compatibility and multi-platform friendliness ensure that players have some options to choose from regarding engrossing solo campaigns. With that, here are the best single-player campaigns on the Xbox Series X and S. Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl. The long-dormant Stalker series finally returns as an Xbox PC exclusive, and wow does it look stunning. Not only does it boast some of the most impressive visuals on the Xbox Series X to date, but the risk-reward aspect of the exclusion zone and its tremendous emergent systems rank as one of this year's greatest surprises. Stalker 2 constantly manages to feel unpredictable and authentic. When you factor the strong survival horror atmosphere in exclusion zone scenarios, Stalker 2 easily ranks as one of the year's best Xbox games, if not games in general. Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. Yakuza's foray into the turn-based combat format sparked some debate among fans regarding the direction of the series, but it's safe to say the Like a Dragon spin-off has fully come into its own, with an experience rivaling the more traditional beat-em-up games. Infinite Wealth is an especially noteworthy entry, introducing an amazing suite of minigames and side activities within a stunning locale outside of Japan for the first time in the series. Hawaii is a treat to explore, and the game makes it absolutely hilarious and fun the whole time thanks to the game-within-a-game Dondoko Island, which encourages creativity with its Animal Crossing-style island customization. Lies of P. Souls-like games typically feature some kind of multiplayer component, whether it be PvP or help in the form of summon signs. Lies of P may be a traditional Souls-like with its combat and level design, but it axed multiplayer completely, placing all its focus on a dense and compelling single-player experience. Some players criticize the game for its lack of multiplayer, sure, but a majority are just shocked a Pinocchio Souls game could be this darn good. Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush deserved to win all the artistic direction rewards it received when it released in 2023. The vibrant cel-shaded look pops remarkably well, and the comic book aesthetic elevates it to Pixar-like quality. Hi-Fi Rush is considered a spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio for a reason, but the super tight and polished platforming and combat elevate it above such a lofty standard for a lot of players. If you're itching for that fast, arcadey flow exemplified in games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater or Sunset Overdrive, Hi-Fi Rush offers plenty of that, and a surprisingly good story to boot. It's also one of the few games that syncs character and environmental movement to the beat of the game's groovy soundtrack that we've seen. Senua Saga Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2 is easily one of the greatest technical displays of this generation of consoles yet. The sequel to Ninja Theory's surprise 2017 hit expands the world-building and scope of Hellblade's fantastical take on 9th century Iceland, with larger towns and areas. Exploration is emphasized tenfold in Hellblade 2, further highlighting the beautiful vistas and dynamic weather than the first game. If you don't mind a narrative-focused game with a shorter runtime, Hellblade 2 will likely stick with you with its weighty story and unparalleled presentation. Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree. If you want a game that truly engrosses you into its bizarre world, providing hundreds of hours of single-player goodness, you can't go wrong with Elden Ring. The sole DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, defies expectations on what an expansion typically is, with its gigantic new zone and body of content that rival many other full games. Shadow of the Erdtree feels like a return to the glory days of substantial video game expansions, seen in the Elder Scrolls IV's The Shivering Isles or StarCraft II Heart of the Swarm. Unlike those, however, Shadow of the Erdtree will knock you senseless with its relentless difficulty, so be prepared, and make good use of the wealth of side content from the base game before venturing forth, unless you can't resist a hefty challenge. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. For my money, Phantom Liberty DLC for Cyberpunk 2077 was one of the best values of last year. The new Dogtown district is an absolute blast to explore, with its dense verticality and impressive interior locations. Phantom Liberty's main story is also fantastic, featuring a fascinating cast of NUSA sleeper agents calling V in to do some incredibly high-stakes espionage work. The expansion even threw in some survival horror sequences inspired by the tight corridor gameplay of Alien Isolation to cap off the experience. Alan Wake 2. Another 2023 game featuring special agents and top-notch survival horror is Alan Wake 2. Players looking for a more unconventional take on the genre shouldn't sleep on Remedy's new magnum opus. The sequel tones down the fast-paced, often clunky action of the first game and hones in on meaningful exploration and clever detective gameplay. The iconic flashlight still fulfills the role of stunning enemies, but Alan Wake 2 takes players through two protagonist campaigns simultaneously, instead of just Alan alone this time around. Dragon's Dogma 2. Dragon's Dogma 2 takes a rather unconventional approach to story, allowing the game's emergent systems and character choices to inform the player's narrative in a charmingly organic manner. Critics have rightfully noted how bland the game's characters can be, but that bland template also gives the pawn system some flexibility regarding class vocations and personality. Speaking of classes, gameplay's highly customizable, allowing you to mix and match styles to your preference. And of course, the combat is a major selling point, utilizing that Monster Hunter World tech regarding climbable enemies and weak spots for individual limbs. If you're itching for an RPG that dishes out unexpected experiences around every corner, you may fall for Dragon's Dogma 2 and its unique take on fantasy role-playing. Gears 5 Hivebusters. Hivebusters was the big solo expansion for Gears 5, putting players in the shoes of the Scorpio Squad trio of characters. The expansion went somewhat under the radar, and undeservedly so, considering its excellent pacing and improved squad banter from the base game. Yeah, sure, the expansion cuts a pretty short time, but its brisk and breakneck action more than justifies its existence as the high points of Gears 5. Those who didn't care for the main game's character cast or just wanted the intensity ramped up a bit need to try out Hivebusters. Tunic. Tunic is remarkable for its creative blending of the Legend of Zelda exploration and Souls-like combat. I knew I was in for a unique experience when I found my first guide fragment within the overworld. Those who grew up with games in the 90s are all too familiar with the need to look through physical strategy guides for archaic game solutions. Well, Tunic turns that retro concept and makes it a core gameplay element, guiding players through its more archaic and confusing elements through its in-game guide, broken up into collectible fragments throughout the game world as it is. With great nail-biter boss fights and a world brimming with secrets and fun dungeons, Tunic is a single-player experience you won't want to miss. Halo Infinite. 343 Industries finally found a hit on their hands with Halo Infinite. From a gameplay standpoint, it's the most dynamic and mechanically brilliant of all the 343 Halo games. The introduction of the grapple shot allows the kind of fun and fast traversal needed in an open-world shooter. Halo Infinite's open-world map has some empty spaces in it, but the variety of vehicles and weapons tips the scales in its favour. The campaign's also quite lengthy, taking around 25 hours to complete. If you've been on the fence about Halo Infinite due to the multiplayer criticisms, you can be sure to find something to like in its campaign, whether that be its thrilling boss fights, open-ended sandbox, or good old-fashioned Halo nostalgia. Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is the ultimate D&D video game. Larian's magnum opus features lots of ways to play the game, whether it's the 46 flexible subclasses to the reactive and open-ended turn-based combat. The sprawling story and scenarios within Baldur's Gate 3 are sure to take you hundreds of hours and then some, and even then, you still won't see everything this game has to offer. A Plague Tale Requiem. The Black Plague never looked so beautiful. The vistas and sheer attention to detail within A Plague Tale Requiem are a marvel on the Xbox Series X, making us thankful the sequel expanded location sizes from the first game. Most impressive among the visual delights are the insane rat swarms, including up to 300,000 of the deadly pests at a time. Of course, you don't just marvel at the bubonic swarms, but also use them to your advantage against enemies or to solve puzzles. A Plague Tale Requiem provides an excellent narrative within tightly crafted stealth action gameplay, earning it a spot on our list. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy almost feels like an RPG at times, with all its dialogue trees and party-based gameplay. There's no doubt that players sick of the typical banter won't appreciate the ever-present camaraderie between the Guardians here. Still, the Guardians form a fun and cohesive unit with their consistent banter and thrilling call to action and team huddle group attacks. This is easily one of the best Eidos Montreal games to date, and the best representation of Guardians of the Galaxy in video game format. But it's also a perfect single-player game for those who enjoy party-based combat and dialogue without actual co-op players. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Machine Games' latest is quite clearly the studio's best game, and that's saying something, because they've already worked on classics like Wolfenstein. Featuring organic exploration and excellent level design, Indiana Jones manages to deliver over-the-top action along with some fantastic stealth elements mixed in. The main campaign is meaty in its content, and all of it is backed up by some superb side quests in the form of fieldwork and mysteries. All in all, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a must-play for any Xbox owner. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.